The premise of Mass Effect is this. There hasn't been a good Mass Effect board game, and it's a great IP, so let's make a board game about it. You are going to be Commander Shepard, and the crew of Mass Effect 1, Garrus, Tali, Liara, and Rex, and you are going to be going on a daring mission, sort of a 3 to 5 mission campaign, and that's it. That's all you need to do. This campaign game that is resettable. It's basically like a scenario game, but you get to sort of level your characters up as you progress. You're going to take down Cerberus, you're going to take down the Reapers, and you're going to do it with a beautiful map book that makes setup and teardown a breeze in what is a really great little campaign game experience in a box for newcomers and veteran gamers alike. I've been having a lot of fun with this one. This has been a highlight for me. So let's take a look at how it plays, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about it. See if it's a good fit for you or not. Shepard. Shepard, I'm down, Shepard. Like any great campaign game, we have a narrative book, and we have what seems to be a big old rule book, but it's really, really intuitive. If you know dungeon crawlers, if you played any dungeon crawlers, you should be able to pick this game up in an instant. If you haven't, then it might take a little bit more, but the game is very simple. It's almost set up out of the box. You turn a page, it will give you the instructions for the mission, the things that you need to accomplish, and then it will give you a map. There are a bunch of different maps as you flip through to the various maps and the additional setups, which you can tell by the layout, are pretty varied considering, ooh, I haven't played that one. Considering the limitations of the size of the board, they do quite an exceptional thing with the 14 scenarios that appear in here. 10 for the main campaign and 4 for your loyalty missions, essentially. The campaign will be structured as followed. You'll pick one of these starting points, 1A, 1B, 1C, and then you will be allowed to choose 2 missions, and then you'll be allowed to choose a final mission, depending upon what you take and what pathway. So that will sort of encompass a full campaign. If you want to play a full campaign, you can do it in a night, because each scenario takes about 45 minutes. So if you really wanted to, it'd be like 4 hours to do this full sort of epic adventure, or you can just do a one-off, and that's fine. In each of these in Mass Effect, in true Mass Effect style, you have the opportunity to complete it Paragon style or Renegade style as well, which give you different benefits and sort of tweak the game just slightly, but it's a really nice homage to the series. So to set up, we're going to open a mission. Let's start on mission 1A. This is the opening mission that we will start with. We'll do the setup, and then we'll also choose our 4 people to go on the mission. Let's do the people that we chose when we did it. We have Rex. We have Commander Shepard, who we always have to have. Sorry, Liara, you're benched. We have Garrus, who hasn't finished his calibrations just yet, but has enough time to go on the mission. And then we also have Tali. Let's put Tali up there in the glare section. No, let's put Tali here. Let's put Tali off screen. We know that we have 4 people. That's all you need to know. Each mission will then have you grab your specific people. They can start on the little starting locations. Let's get Rex up in there. Garrus and Tali, and Tali also comes with Tali's little sentry bot that's going to be floating around. Or you can have female Shepard if you want, which is great. Also perfect with the game. You'll get all these dice out, and you'll also search through these tokens to find the enemies for the match. Now, it seems like there's a lot of tokens, but they basically boil down to the same 3 types of enemies for each: a Cerberus mission, where you'll use the Cerberus deck, or a Reaper mission, where you use the Reaper deck. So I've kind of sorted them by like Cerberus mission stuff. You'll take the level of enemy that you're facing. This one would be level 1 because you're on the first level. It'll say in the setup instructions, you'll take these, you'll put them in this bag, and then you'll draw them randomly out onto the board as well. So these will sort of populate the correct spots. And then you might also have some elite mechs, some elite enemies that are down there, which you will have tokens for that you'll find according to their pictures and just sort of plop them on the board. You'll do that for all the tokens on the board, whether they are turrets that show where the turrets are going to shoot, whether they are objectives, whether they're loot boxes, which will give you items, or other things that aren't in this particular scenario. Bam! Took no time at all. Took a little bit of time. It would be great if Modifius had a better little insert where you could have little symbols, spots for all the symbols, but you know, it's fine. Commander Shepard will always go first, and the game proceeds in a number of rounds. First, everybody gets one of these hazard cards, which they will resolve at the end of their turn, and then Commander Shepard, or whoever is going first, will take all 12 dice and they will roll them. Now you see there's these extra 2 dice that are off to the side. If in future, oh, I forgot to check that, you have gotten Paragon victories, you can add this dice to your pool. If you have Renegade victories, you can get Renegade tokens, which allow you rerolls. It's just a slightly different variation that gives you a little bit more agency and mitigation as you go down. But you'll get to roll all of these dice, and you will get to choose 3 of them to activate. So let's push into Shepard's mat for a second and talk about what you can do. Number 1, you can move. If you take a dice that has the movement arrows, either 2 or 3, you can move that many spaces. Commander Shepard goes 1, 2, 3. Boom. That's a movement action. You can always do the mission action if you take something with an exclamation mark on it and you are at a specific spot on the board. So let's say for this one, you have to be on a question mark. You can use one of these exclamation marks to do the question mark thing. Here, you're hacking into the system. We collected one of those. We're one step further towards our mission. Here, if one of your people has been downed and are dead, so let's say Rex was too excited, Rex took a tumble and is sitting here on the board. Shepard, being next to Rex, can use one of these exclamation marks, boom, actually it's this one, boom, to then revive Rex. Rex can stand up and be ready to run through and, you know, die again for being way too foolhardy. Who knows who was playing Rex, but it happened. In addition, every character has their own special red box, which gives them their own kind of ongoing ability. For Shepard, it's if you were to ever roll any stars, you would have 3 tokens here. They look like this. And if you rolled a star, you get to flip one over. And then you get to use that to support your teammate, essentially. So they all kind of have to deal with these stars. And whenever you roll stars, then you just re-roll them into something else. In addition, you also will have these blue ones that start unlocked. These are your unlocked abilities. So for Shepard, he can hack, he can disable a turret or unlock a door. Can do that with either of those symbols. And then here, Shepard can also shoot. You can deal 1 damage to an enemy in line of sight, in line of fire, or deal 2 damage to an enemy if you use that exclamation mark instead of that exclamation mark. Every character has one of these sheets, and then all of these black boxes are things that you will unlock later. So really, you don't have to worry about all of this. You just have to worry about a couple of your actions, especially when you're starting the game, and then tracking your shield and your health as you run around and shoot people, blam, blam, in your line of fire. Take them out. Now, speaking of shooting, that's the only other thing that you really need to think about. Each one of these tokens will have an attack stat and a defense stat. That is the number of damage that you have to deal to them by the end of the round for them to die. If not, their shields will heal up to full health and you have to take them out again. If they attack you, that's the amount of damage that they will deal to you. Also, at the end of the round, your shields will go back up. So if Shepard's shields get cracked and he's taking damage, don't worry, at the end of the round, he'll at least have a little bit extra shield to work with before he gets completely swarmed and obliterated by the mob. And then finally on your turn, to finish your turn, you will take your hazard card and you will reveal it and do whatever it says. So this is activate each assault trooper and engineer, and you would go to the board and each assault trooper and engineer would move and attack. Basically, if you're in their line of fire and they have range, they'd attack you. Blam, Shepard got shot. If you're not in line of fire, they'd move 2 spaces to try to get somebody into line of fire, and then they could attack them on subsequent rounds. So you never know what these hazard cards are going to give you, but generally they're always bad. Except for like one card in the deck, which for the first game, the very first card was like, hey, have a freebie. And we're like, great, thanks very much. These cards are amazing. And then they weren't. Now, the exciting part about this game and the exciting part about where the teamwork comes in is that, okay, I as Shepard have taken my 3 actions, my 3 dice. I'm going to then pass over to the next person in line, who is Garrus. Garrus can choose to lock 1 dice and say, okay, I want to hold on to that dice, and then gets to re-roll the entire pool. Boom, boom, boom. Garrus rolled 3 stars, then thereby activating Garrus's aim ability as we move up on that track, which gives Garrus extra firepower because Garrus is lining up the shot, being a sniper, and then would re-roll these as well. And then Garrus would go and get to choose 3 things to pick. So Garrus is going to do that, and Garrus is going to fire a bunch of shots. Then Liara would get to do the same thing. Save a dice, re-roll them, take 3 of them. And then finally we get to the last person who has the 3 dice left and has to re-roll and get essentially whatever they get. And so what I really like that about this system is that you start out with all of these possibilities and you feel like you have so much power. Somebody's going to get to do anything they want to do, but you also have to think about taking care of the person who's going last. Do you decide to, hey, we really want them to have an awesome exclamation mark, let's lock that in down the line so that we can make sure that they can do something that they want in their turn? Or do they really need to move? Like, how do we navigate what things we lock, what things we prioritize, and how do we work together as a team? You can play this for 1 to 4 players. 4 players, everybody gets 1 character. 1 player, you just play all of them by yourself. 2 players, you play 2 characters. And I think I would recommend this game at that 2-player count, mainly because you will at some point get knocked down. You will get knocked out. And when you get knocked out, you essentially take your whole sheet, flip it over. Let's say Tali is knocked out, and then you'll take 3 dice and they'll be locked. They'll be locked, nobody can use them, and everybody else just gets to keep going as normal until somebody revives you. And so playing at 4 people, if you get knocked out, you then will have to wait a couple rounds. You don't really get to participate in the game itself. It's not that fun, whereas if you're playing at that 2-player level, then sure, Rex has been knocked out, but you as Tali can still keep running around and maybe pick Rex back up, right? So I don't know how I would really, if I would really want to play this at a 4-player game, but it's possible. I think it works well less than 4. Probably in that 2-player range is what I would be interested in. Although as a 1 player, it's not that much to manage. And especially at the beginning, these player sheets seem like they have a lot of information, but you're only going to level up once per mission. You can see I have, clearly I didn't mark this from the previous one. Shepard didn't level up last time. But every mission 1, loyalty mission, mission 2, etc., you can level up an ability 1 time, and then you basically just check a box and you get to do this thing. And you can go down the tech path. If you complete this, then you can unlock this one, essentially. But it's really not that much to manage, and the map book is so good. It makes setup so easy. Sure, there's still some like bag management, you have to find the tokens and whatever, but like it makes setting up and playing this game so accessible, such a breeze, and it's a really fun time. I'm always concerned with games that have a set number of scenarios as to their replayability aspect, but I really like this idea that you are always playing with 4 characters, so you might leave one out. Like we left Liara out, and then I brought Liara in for a loyalty mission, and then we kicked Liara out again for the next mission. So you can kind of rotate those, but it'll probably benefit you for keeping the same crew all throughout because they all level up and you can get better and better skills. You could easily just house rule that in that you're on level 3. Okay, unlock some skills if you want to bring in a new character. Super easy to do. But I like the fact that you're using the same characters all throughout. I really enjoy this campaign map element because it's like, okay, you're going to get to unlock a few skills. You're going to get to try a different build as you go through boom, boom, boom. And then the next one, you might go through boom, boom, boom. And then the next time you might go through boom and boom and boom, right? Or then you could see what it's like to go boom, boom, boom. There are some deviations in the narrative pathways. It'll say as you move forward, hey, if you completed this mission, read this paragraph. If you completed this mission, read this paragraph. So there'll be a little bit of a through line, but the narrative element doesn't have much going for it in this section. What really has a lot going for it is the ease at which it is to manage all of this stuff. Activating enemies feel really intuitive once you get it. I mean, I guess you could say that for anything. Anything feels really intuitive once you get it. But the flow of this game is so quick, right? You move your character, you do your 3 actions, you chuck some dice. The dice are satisfying. They're nice and chunky. They're a bit oversized from regular dice, and like they feel really good to roll. Then you activate this card. You see what happens. Sometimes it's activating people. Sometimes it's activating and then spawning them. Although it seems like we're just activating people with all the examples that I'm showing you. But we look through, it's like activate the 2 closest enemies. Escalation. This is also, this deck acts as a bit of a timer. So if too many of these pop up, you will lose the game. So if you take too long, you'll lose the game. Although there's 3 of these. There are 3 of these in the deck. And so it's really rare, I think, that you would lose to them. You can activate the turrets, right? It's all just about activating different enemies and not knowing what enemies are going to spawn or activate. But because of that, it's not like every card you pull up, you have to go through a whole laborious rule set. No, every enemy just either shoots you or it moves towards you. That's it. It's going to shoot you or it's going to move towards you. And there never is sort of an enemy upkeep phase after all of your turns where you have to do a lot of busy work. You just play a turn, enemies will move. You play a turn, enemies move, but maybe they won't. You punch them in the face as hard as you can, you shoot them, you run around, you collect loot, you use that loot collectively as a team, you try to get to the mission objectives. It's just a really solid production that flows really nicely, pays really nice homage to the video game. Like, I'm a big fan of Mass Effect. I haven't played Mass Effect 1, but I have played 2 and 3 a couple times each. Mainly because, like, I was a PlayStation boy, and I think Mass Effect 1 only came out on Xbox, and then they released the definitive edition, whatever. But yeah, it flows really nicely. There isn't too much to learn or to worry about in terms of each character. And I think as a 2-player experience, which is what I primarily played it at, 2 and 1, was a really, really good time. The only things that I would like to see, and I'm sure there will be expansions down the line, would be, you know, more scenarios. 14 feels nice. That's more than you get in Zombicide, really. And maybe more characters with more interesting abilities. I find the tech trees to be not that exciting, but I think that's part of the design, right? I think that they're just little things that you have to keep track of. I would like more actions to choose from just because I like that idea of, okay, do I shoot you here? How do I shoot you there? But as you develop, I do like that you kind of have to pick your pathways and pick the things that you will level up to. And by the end of it, you'll probably have unlocked all of the skills, but the order in which you unlock them is kind of fun. And I do think it is exciting that you have to pick sort of 2 characters out of the 3 characters that you're going to run with that get their upgraded loyalty ability, because you only can do 2 loyalty missions. This is the sort of campaign game that I love. I think the Elder Scrolls is going to be very similar to this in that you are given 3 missions. Like, that's it. You're going to scale up a character for 3 missions, then erase it all, and do it again in different scenarios. And I think that flow makes it feel very manageable. You still get that sense of progressing in a campaign, but it's something that you will actually finish instead of something that will take you hundreds and hundreds of hours. This is a very accessible campaign game, a great intro to like campaigns. I love the bite-sized chunks of it. I think the production value is quite nice, and I love that it's bare bones. I love that it's all tokens. In Kickstarter, you would have a useless mini that would just clutter up the board for every single one of these tokens. And on these tokens, it's better because they actually have pertinent information like the attack and the health, etc. So you don't have to reference something else. This shows how like easy tactical dungeon crawling can be done. And it is like a really good experience. In terms of final rating, it definitely gets a seal of approval. This is like, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. You might think I was like super high on it, should be 5 out of 5. It's a 4 out of 5 because I am worried about the amount of replayability. But then again, if you get 14 sessions out of it, 14 individual plays of uniqueness for half the cost of what a larger big box game might give you, you've probably got your money's worth. And there is that a little bit of replayability factor to it as well. I don't see like the missions themselves getting stale because there's interesting setups for all of them. I just don't know if I'd play them, I don't know, more than twice each. That's my thinking right now, but I really like the flow of it. I wish the production had a little bit more organization and maybe a couple more characters, but it's also Mass Effect, and those were the characters that you had in the original game. Like, it's not Mass Effect 2, where you had like a cast of 13. It's Mass Effect. And I think for what this does, it does it really, really quite well. I think if you're used to heavier games and you're used to heavier tactical experiences, this will be a lot lighter than what you're used to, because I think it is purposefully so. But if you want a nice, light dungeon crawl where you chuck some dice, the thing that I am enamored with is the concept of rolling 12 dice to spread between your 4 characters. I really like that a lot. And I like the ramifications and how good it feels at the beginning and then how tense it feels at the end when you want to do something and you can't. Generally, I think this game is going to be a bit easier if you are used to dungeon crawlers. You can intuit most of the game without even reading the rulebook. And the tactics can only be so robust when you're dealing with this amount of space and only have so many actions at which you can punch things. And so therefore are forced to do other things, which I also think is kind of a nice design note as well. Yeah, I just think it's a really solid game. Definite seal of approval. If you like the theme, if you're new to campaign games, if you want just something relaxing, if you want a campaign game that you're going to actually finish, I can recommend Mass Effect. Priority Hagalaz. This was a definite surprise to me at how much I enjoyed this. I wasn't expecting to enjoy this as much as I did. I feel like I've been a bit burnt out on dungeon crawling recently, and this sort of reinvigorated me and was just a nice, refreshing, relaxing time. So I hope if you get it, you enjoy it. It's on pre-order or it's just recently out if you're watching this as this video drops. So check it out if you want. Component-wise, you're probably paying more because of the IP than what you get in terms of components, but I think all the components really work. The only thing that I would change would be a little bit better organization to help with the setup and teardown experience. But other than that, it's a really nice, solid production. And yeah, quite impressed. So why am I putting that out of frame? It's the only thing that's interesting. Look at this beautiful art. Female shepherd, baby. And the information broker, or whoever she becomes, the shadow broker. Thanks so much for watching. My name's Chris George. I don't have a catchphrase, but I do have a lot of joy from this game and some that I wasn't expecting. So way to go, Modifius. Thanks for sending it my way.